The boardroom fell silent as Sarah Chen's phone lit up with the call that could save or destroy everything she'd built in 20 years. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. $3 billion. That's what hung in the balance. The Georgian Telecommunications Consortium had given her until 5 p.m. to finalize terms or they'd walk. Her company, Tech Vista Solutions, would collapse. 2,000 employees would lose their jobs. Her late father's legacy, the small software startup he'd founded in their garage, would become just another cautionary tale of Silicon Valley, ambition gone wrong. Miss Chen, the voice on the other end, spoke in thickly accented English. This is Georgie Baridzi representing the consortium. We have concerns. Sarah's stomach dropped. Mr. Baridzi, I assure you we can address the contract translation. There are errors. Serious errors, cultural misunderstandings that my colleagues find insulting. Her blood ran cold. She'd hired the best translation service in San Francisco. They'd charged $50,000 for the Georgian language documents. How could this happen? I'm looking at it now, Georgie continued, his tone hardening. You've used phrases that are inappropriate, even offensive in our business culture. My partners are questioning whether you respect us at all. Please. Sarah's voice cracked. Give me 2 hours. I'll fix everything. Miss Chen, we are already with other companies. You have 1 hour, not a minute more. The line went dead. Sarah burst out of her office. Her Louboutins clicking frantically against the marble floor. Jennifer, get me that translation service on the phone now, and find someone, anyone who speaks Georgian. Her assistant's face went pale. They're closed for a company retreat. Won't be back until tomorrow. And Sarah, I've called every translation service in the Bay Area. No one can guarantee fluency in Georgian on this timeline. Sarah felt the walls closing in. 20 years gone, she thought of her father's weathered hands teaching. Heard a code at age 7, his eyes shining with dreams of what they'd build together. He'd died before seeing the company go public. Before seeing her prove that his little girl could run an empire. Now she was about to lose it all. She wandered down the hall in a daze. Her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Not here. Not where her employees could see. She found herself in the empty West Wing, the section they rarely used anymore. And there, meticulously mopping the floor with quiet dignity, was Carlos, the night janitor she'd seen 1,000 times but never really noticed. Her phone rang again. The consortium. Her hands shook so badly she fumbled it and the phone clattered across the wet floor. No, no, no. She lunged for it, her heels skidding on the slick surface. Carlos moved with surprising speed, catching both her arm and the phone before either hit the ground. Careful, miss, he said gently, handing her the device. She snatched it from his weathered brown hands. Hello, Mr. Baridza. But it wasn't Georgie. It was his partner speaking rapid Georgian. Sarah's heart sank further. They were so frustrated they wouldn't even use English anymore. I don't understand, she said desperately. Please, if you could. Carlos, standing a respectful distance away, suddenly straightened, his eyes widened. Miss, I can help, he began. Not now. Sarah snapped, her composure finally shattering. Can't you see I'm losing everything? Just go clean somewhere else. Carlos stepped back, hurt flashing across his face. But he didn't leave. The voice on the phone grew more agitated. Miss, Carlos tried again more urgently. I said not now. Sarah whirled on him, her voice echoing down the empty corridor. You're a janitor. What could you possibly do? Just leave me alone. The words hung in the air, ugly and cruel. Carlos's expression shifted not to anger, but to something worse. Disappointment. He'd seen something in her. She'd just confirmed that she was exactly the kind of person who measured worth by job titles. He nodded slowly, picked up his mop, and began to walk away. The voice on the phone shouted something final sounding, and the line went dead. Sarah stared at her phone, then at Carlos's retreating back. Something about the way he'd straightened when he heard the Georgian, the urgency in his voice. Wait. Her voice came out as a whisper. Wait, please come back. Carlos stopped but didn't turn around. You speak Georgian? Sarah asked, her voice small. Yes, miss. His accent, which she'd always assumed was simply Spanish, suddenly seemed more complex. My mother was from Tennessee. My father brought her to America 40 years ago. I grew up speaking both languages. Sarah felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was cruel and her voice broke. I'm about to lose everything and I took it out on you and that's inexcusable. Carlos turned, his lined face thoughtful. What's happening, Miss Chen? Through tears, she explained everything. The deal, the translation errors, the cultural insult she'd unwittingly included, the 1-hour deadline that was now down to 43 minutes. When she finished, Carlos was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I finish my shift in 15 minutes. Union rules say I can't work off the clock. He paused, the ghost of a smile touching his lips. But I'm due for my dinner break and I can spend that break however I want. You'd help me after how I just treated you. My mother always said that character isn't how you treat people who can help you. Miss Chen, it's how you treat people who can't. He met her eyes. But also she said everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment. So let me see those documents. The next 40 minutes were a blur. Carlos sat at Sarah's computer, his weathered fingers surprisingly nimble on the keyboard as he tore through the translation. He didn't just fix errors, he explained them. Here you used gikare, which technically means rejoice, but in business context, it's sarcastic. You're essentially mocking them. His pen flew across the margins. In this phrase about partnership, you've used language that suggests you see them as subordinates, not equals. In Georgian business culture, respect and reciprocity are everything. How do I fix it? You humble yourself. You honor their experience. Watch. His pen scratched across the paper and Sarah watched her aggressive American businesswoman tone transform into something more collaborative, more respectful. With 10 minutes to spare, Carlos hit send on the revised documents. Then he picked up the phone and called Georgie himself. Sarah listened, barely breathing as Carlos spoke in flowing Georgian, his voice carrying a warmth and respect the original translation had utterly lacked. He explained about the translation error, took full responsibility on behalf of the company and conveyed Sarah's deep respect for their culture and partnership. When he hung up, he said quietly, they'll review the new documents. They've extended your deadline by 2 hours. Sarah collapsed into her chair. Carlos, I don't know how to thank you. You can start by learning my last name, he said with a gentle smile. It's Lumisa, after my mother's family. 3 weeks later, the deal closed. Tech Vista Solutions not only survived, the Georgian partnership opened doors across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. The company's value doubled. Sarah stood before her employees at the quarterly meeting and told them everything about her cruelty, her arrogance, and about Carlos Long, who now sat in the front row, wearing a new suit, but the same humble expression. I've made Carlos our Director of International Cultural Relations, Sarah announced, with full equity and a salary that reflects his true value to this company. Value that was always there, that I was just too blind to see. The applause was deafening, but Sarah noticed Carlos's eyes were wet. After the meeting, she asked him why. My whole life in America. People see the mop in my hands and think that's all I am, he said softly. My mother had a PhD in linguistics from Tbilisi State University. In America, she cleaned houses. She always told me, education is not in your hands, Carlos. It's in your heart and your head. Never be ashamed of honest work. But never let anyone make you ashamed of your knowledge either. Sarah felt tears streaming down her own face. I'm so sorry about your mother and I'm sorry she never got to use her gifts here, but Miss Chen, she did. She gave them to me and today finally someone saw them. He smiled. My mother always said that the smallest acts of respect can move mountains, or in this case close billion-dollar deals. Sarah laughed through her tears. Then she did something she should have done years ago. She really looked at Carlos, not as a janitor, not as a job title, but as a complete human being with a full life, a rich history, and gifts she'd been too arrogant to imagine. Would you teach me some Georgian? She asked. I want to speak to our partners in their language when I visit Tbilisi next month.